It took 226 episodes, but Denki has officially become Iron Man.
Good move.
Powerful Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. The Chunin Re-Examination arc finally comes to a close, in an episode which leaves me very conflicted. I both loved this episode and hated it all at the same time. And before we go into those details, I would like to ask all of you, if you're not subscribed to my channel and you're enjoying my content, please consider subscribing. For those who are already subscribed, make sure you're hitting that bell button. It'll give you a little notification for when my videos are released. And if you do like this video, go ahead and transform into your ninja-powered mecha suit and smash the like button. And if you want to go that extra mile, please consider checking out my Patreon page, where you can make a small monthly donation, which will go a long way in helping to support this channel. I really would appreciate it if you guys could check that out. I've had a number of new patrons who have decided to join, and I cannot thank you guys enough for all of the donations that you have been making, and I would love to add your name to this list of all these people that you see on screen. They're essentially the producers of my channel. But here it is, the final round of the Chunin Re-Examination arc. And I say final round because there's actually a pretty big twist for this episode, and one that absolutely pisses me off. Throughout the course of the series, they've always had these little events where someone is going to be late to an event, a Chunin exam, and if they get there, they're going to be disqualified. And typically when this happens, they arrive at the absolute last second, or they end up being like the final match and they end up having that fight. And this is because Boruto and Mitsuki have been dealing with this really stupid subplot that's been going on in this Re-Examination arc, which, by the way, went absolutely nowhere and was a complete and total waste of fucking time, and they finally just barely make it to the arena, only to learn that they have indeed been disqualified. So if you were looking forward to seeing Boruto and Mitsuki have an epic battle, guess what? You're shit out of luck. And this is such a stupid decision. It's almost as if the creators of the series thought, maybe we can't let Boruto and Mitsuki become Chunin yet. Maybe we have to find a way in order to make this not happen, and the only way that that could happen is for them to be disqualified. I'm honestly kind of shocked that no one fought for them to actually have their fight at the very end of the Chunin exam, which I thought would have been really cool and something that I actually thought was going to happen. Hell, even when the Chunin exams end, the final scene of this episode is Boruto and Mitsuki going back to the Chunin arena at night as they're preparing to actually have a little sparring match with one another. This could have been its very own episode. Guess what? You don't even get to see that. So I have to admit that really dragged down this episode for me, and honestly, kind of upset me personally. I just wanted to see this fight actually happen, to see these characters push themselves beyond their limits. It would have arguably been one of the most anticipated fights of like the entire series, Boruto and Mitsuki. It would have been great. But no, it looks like the final round is going to be Denki versus Tsubaki, and when you get the whole Boruto and Mitsuki thing not fighting out of your head, it actually ends up being a surprisingly entertaining episode that was completely ruined by the preview for this one. I knew that Denki was going to use some form of scientific ninja technology. I just didn't know that it was going to be like what is essentially a mecha suit, which was honestly what made this one of the best fights of the entire Chunin exam, and definitely the coolest fight that Denki has ever had. There's no getting around it. This is the most badass fight that he's ever had in the entire series. He has basically created this exoskeleton mecha suit, which allows him to anticipate his opponent's attacks, as well as utilize a number of jutsu, whether it be lightning style or fire style. Hell, he's even got a lot of power behind his punches, doing some Sakura-styled punches, if you know what I mean, in this episode. Of course, the favorite to win is none other than Tsubaki, and I honestly thought that she was going to end up taking this battle, but Denki ended up giving her one hell of a fight. There are a number of really great moments in this battle that are worth talking about, if only for the fact that it's so unique. Technology in the Naruto series has certainly evolved a lot from what we saw in the original series and Shippuden, and now here in Boruto it's on a completely different level, and just the fact that he's allowed to use this in this fight is insane. And because he basically has what is a built-in Sharingan inside of the visor that he's actually wearing. It allows him to anticipate any of the moves that Tsubaki's going to try and use against him. Basically, he's able to predict the future with this crazy ability. But of course, after a few really great moments of him displaying the abilities of this mecha suit, whether it's its raw power, its ability to use jutsu, or just the fact that it has extendable robotic claws, Tsubaki starts to learn the secrets of this, learning that she has to take out the sensor. And she does this by using a combination of her sword and her sheath in a scene that was honestly just plain awesome. I really love that. That combined with some of the fighting choreography between both of these characters made this honestly, I think, one of the most entertaining fights of the entire Chunin Re-Examination arc. And eventually she is able to destroy his sensor and even a lot of his suit when Denki actually allows it to sort of like get destroyed all around him, and he does like this one last ditch move, which honestly, again, one of the coolest things Denki has ever done, utilizing a lightning style technique to attack her, and she made the terrible decision of guarding against it with her sword and putting her hand up against the blade, which of course just conducted a lot of electricity into her body. And yes, in what might be one of the biggest upsets and shocks of the entire Chunin exam, Denki ends up winning, being the only member of his team to become a Chunin, and Tsubaki does indeed end up losing. However, this ended up being really important. This is a loss that's going to help her grow as a character, as she realizes that she's been underestimating a lot of her opponents, and she still has a lot more to learn in Konoha Village, and this is great news for her teammates on Team 15, as they desperately want her to stick around, and when they learn that she's decided to stay and learn a little bit more about what it means to be a warrior and a ninja in Konoha Village, they basically just glomp her to death. And I just never thought that Denki would come this far in the series and that he would end up outranking the main characters in the series. It's honestly kind of a shocking twist. We even have a really great montage sequence at the end of all of them receiving their Chunin vests. I have a feeling that a lot of them are probably not going to wear them at all. If any of these people are going to wear them, it's going to be Hoki, because now his Kakashi cosplay is officially complete. So what's the rundown on this episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations? A pretty action-packed and surprising episode, if only for the fact that this was an episode that really broke the mold. This wasn't your typical ninja shinobi battle that we see in the Narutoverse. It was technology versus a samurai, and that alone made it kind of an interesting beast. But there were a lot of things about this episode that I thought were really great. In particular, the introduction of Denki in this episode utilizing that scientific technology, which definitely gave Dr. Katasuke a huge technology boner. You can imagine after the embarrassment that the doctor has gone through with the fact that the whole ninja technology thing was such a taboo thing in the original Chunin exam of Boruto, now seeing it lifted up to some brand new lofty heights probably made him pretty happy. Denki is also one of those characters that has continuously surprised me with his development throughout the series, but this is arguably, I think, the biggest moment that he's had thus far, and I really hope we're going to get to see the return of more of his technology and see him improve upon it, if only for the fact that it's unique, especially to his character. So yeah, I want to see more of Denki. Tsubaki is a character that really took a long time to warm up to me. I didn't necessarily like her when she was just sort of shoehorned into the series, but I'm glad that they brought her in, if only for the fact that, like Denki, she's also unique in terms of her perspective and fighting style, and just the fact that she's from the land of iron and that she's a samurai working along some shinobi. It was pretty obvious that she was probably going to stick her around. There was no reason to get rid of her, especially because it means they just have to introduce another new character to develop for Team 15, so it really is good to see her stick around, as their entire team dynamic at this point is honestly kind of wholesome. And just speaking off the cuff, the action in this episode honestly looked kind of cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were certainly some moments that looked a little rough, but there were also some moments that were surprisingly awesome. Watching Denki in the power suit move around and dodge all those attacks looked really good. Seeing him actually go on the attack with some surprisingly devastating abilities that we've never seen him use, that was surprising, and I really did like it. Unfortunately, however, the episode is completely brought down by the fact that Boruto and Mitsuki don't get to have a proper fight. I really feel that we were robbed of something special here, and when you get rid of that, what you end up getting is a pretty decent fight between two fairly popular side characters, and in that sense, it honestly did a pretty good job. But still, the whole Boruto Mitsuki thing, it just felt like such a missed and wasted opportunity, especially because it was all wasted on a side story which was completely stupid. I remember episodes ago when I was talking about these stupid villains who were kidnapping Amato, and some people were giving me crap about it, saying that I was jumping the gun and everything. Well, you know what? They sucked, they weren't important, and they practically stole what was going to be one of the coolest fights of the entire series thus far. I still think they should have dedicated an entire episode to at least Boruto and Mitsuki having some sort of sparring match with one another. They could have dedicated a whole next one after this with them fighting at night in the arena, some people sneaking in to watch it. That would have been awesome! but they're not going to do that. They also do follow up on that one thing with Shinki and them arriving. They weren't just there to actually watch the Chunin exams, they were actually there to observe Kawaki just a little bit. So clearly Gaara is kind of interested in everything that's going on with him. And speaking of Kawaki, after this whole Chunin exam arc, it looks like that he's actually kind of interested in becoming a genin in Konoha Village. So if anything, it's spurring him along to start his brand new career as a possible shinobi. That being said, the Chunin Re-Examination arc was pretty good in my opinion. If anything, it did a good job of expanding on some of those seldomly used side characters, and a lot of them have managed to rise up in the ranks, and surprisingly, one of the main 3 leads of Team 7 ended up becoming a Chunin, that of course being Sarada. So I can't wait to see what sort of effect that's going to have on the rest of the future, as she essentially outranks the other members of her team, not counting of course Konohamaru. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode, despite the fact that we were robbed of an amazing fight. So I'm gonna give this one a 4 out of 5. I think most people will probably give it a 3, but I really did enjoy seeing Denki utilize what he's really best at, which is his brain, not just his brawn. And he was able to give Tsubaki one hell of a fight, and it ended up developing both characters all at the same time. So yeah, I think most people consider this a 3, maybe even a 2, but I still really enjoyed that fight. But I'll be damned if I'm not upset about the whole Boruto and Mitsuki thing. That is just a dumb decision. That's it. That's all I have to say. But I'd really love to get your thoughts about this episode. You can sound off in the comment section below. Tell me what you thought about the battle between Denki and Tsubaki. Were you happy with the results? What did you think of the entire Chunin Re-Examination arc overall? And how do you feel about Boruto and Mitsuki not being able to have their fight? Are you disappointed? Do you think we'll get another one in the future? And what are your hopes and dreams for the next major arc of the Boruto series? Let's have a big talk all about it. Comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.